Welcome to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
And I'm John Galantis.
And you can find us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have a question for Dr. Shah, anything you'd like to write in, just suggest that we talk about, you can send us a text at 252-582-5028, or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com.
Right you are, Ryan. And guys, you can help us keep the conversation going by supporting the show. You can share it online with your friends and family. Leave us a good review on iTunes or Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasting content from. We're going to leave a couple of links right here in the description of the show, so you can do just that. And I do feel like being a Christian show, I do feel the need to kind of come clean. That was a bit of pure theater. Ryan Hill has left the building. He's left the town. He's left the city. He's still in the same state. He's still in North Carolina, but he's not here today. And I felt like maybe impersonating him would bring him back to me in kind of a cool way, but it didn't work out that way. Ryan's not here. I'm doing the intro solo dolo, but hey, that's okay. I don't have any bitterness in my heart, no vitriol, nothing like that. I do wish that he were here and hadn't left me all on my own in the stony lonesome of the Clearview Today studio, but that is what it is. The verse of the day is coming to us from the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 1. It says, "Therefore, having these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God." And Paul is referencing these promises that are possessed by people who are in Christ. You know, he's referenced several Old Testament scriptures that connect God's promises to the Israelites, to the Jewish people, and it's all about their obedience, right? It's separating themselves from the ungodly nations, from unclean things. And so some of God's promises to Israel, it depends on the Israelites' willingness. In fact, a lot of God's promises depend on the Israelites' willingness to obey him in that way. And so there's nothing new under the sun. It's not like now all of a sudden we're under this new covenant and suddenly we don't have to obey God anymore because there's grace. Paul is saying, listen, you have to separate yourselves from that. Let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit and perfect holiness in the fear of God. And I think that's something that, a lot of people also misunderstand, this fear of God. It isn't that we're frightened of what's God's going to do to us if we don't obey. It's this reverence of who he is. He is so holy and he is so perfect that my compulsion really is to obey him. But yeah, that is our verse of the day. We hope that these verses are helpful for you guys. They're really helpful for us. A lot of you guys may notice that the dates that we give you, like 2 Corinthians 7:1, it actually matches up to the date that we're doing, and that's because of today's sponsor is the Date the Word app. A lot of these verses that we read to you guys, they're specially picked by the people over at Date the Word to match up what's going on today's date. There's a lot of things that are happening day to day, and so the Date the Word app is really specially designed to connect today's date to God's Word with the hope of making it more memorable for you. They have lots of devotions on that app. They do lots of birthday verses. You can send someone their birthday verse. Just a lot of ways to communicate, and more importantly than anything else, get people into the Word of God. We actually had someone write in. I save a lot of these, but we actually had someone write in for our $1 Million Monday. Here comes the money. Yeah! So, $1 Million Monday. This is coming from Dallas P. from South Carolina. It's kind of crazy. Someone from Dallas. I would have just lied and said I was from Texas. $1 million, but every time you see a purple car, you have to get out of the car and do a Chinese fire drill. I'm not going to lie to you, Dallas. I'll do it. I'm taking the money. Here's the thing. I have heard similar ones about every time you see a X-colored car or whatever. Not a red car, blue car, but an out there color, like a purple car, an orange car, or like even a lime green car. Here's the thing. You think you never see them until you start looking for them, and you're going to find those cars. I've seen purple cars around our town. I've seen them around the Raleigh, Wake Forest area. They're not as rare as you would think. That being said, I'm still doing this 100%. If you don't know what a Chinese fire drill is, it's basically where you stop the car, get out, run around the car in the in the middle of traffic, and then get back in the car as if nothing were to happen. Sometimes you can change seats, but yeah, 100%. I don't see any downside to doing that. If I was on a bridge, that would be kind of scary, especially if I'm on like a down. It says every time you see a car, you have to get out of the car and do a Chinese fire drill. So I'm going to assume that I'm allowed to I'm allowed to pull over. I don't have to stop in the middle of the interstate. But I tell you what, we're going to bring Dr. Shah and his wife Nicole in here in just a couple of seconds. I'm going to ask them. about it. Dr. Shah's got kind of a big truck too, so I don't know if he's jumping down out of a big Nissan truck right on the middle of the freeway to run around and do a Chinese fire drill. But hey, for $1 million, man, there's not a lot I wouldn't do. Certainly, we're gonna ask Dr. Shah and Nicole the same thing. If you have any questions or suggestions for new topics that we can talk about here on the Clearview Today show, text us at 252-582-5028. Shout out Dallas P. Thank you for writing into the show. You guys can text that number if you have any $1 Million Mondays you want to hit us with, or just suggestions for things that you want to hear us talk about here on the Clearview Today show, or you can visit us online, clearviewtodayshow.com. We'll be right back after this. Hey, what's going on, listeners? My name is John.
And I'm Ellie.
And we just want to take a second and let you know about Dr. Shah's new book on the market right now called Can We Recover the Original Text of the New Testament? Boy, that is a long title.
True, but it's a very simple message. The original text of the New Testament is not only attainable, but there are lots of different ways that scholars go about discovering it.
There's a lot of people out there saying that the original text is lost forever, or that it's hopeless to actually try to find it, or that there's many texts of the New Testament. But alongside Dr. David Allen Black, Dr. Shah has actually compiled papers from some of the world's leading experts in textual criticism, including one written by himself on various methodologies for extracting the original text. And listen, if you're interested in textual criticism, this book is a great introduction to the field.
You can pick up your copy on Amazon, or you can buy it from our church website. That's clearviewbc.org. We're going to leave a link in the description box so you can get your copy today.
Love that. Ellie, let's hop back in.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can find us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have a question, anything you want to ask Dr. Shah about, any topics that you'd like to hear us talk about on the show, write in, send us a text, 252-582-5028, or you can also email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com. We are here once again in the Clearview Today studio with Dr. Abadan Shah, who is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, professor at Carolina University, author, full-time pastor, and the host of today's show, along with permaguest Nicole Shah. Every time. I don't know why I thought it. I'm just going to let it be in. Here, we're going to put it right here. There you go. Air horns for Nicole. It's good to see you, Nicole. Good to see you, Dr. Shah. We're running it solo this week.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of our people.
John is in charge. Well, John is really the mind behind the show. And Ryan is the excellent host. But our staff, I would say half the staff is gone. They're gone on a mission trip.
Yes.
And they're gone with Ryan, Elizabeth, who are our student leaders as well.
Right.
And they're helping them as chaperones, as Bible study leaders. David is leading the worship, as always, and helping the songwriting. They come back with a song.
Yep, every year.
And they do a phenomenal job every time. And Nick is gone. Nick, who is our, I guess, sound manager?
Sound engineer, video switcher, video engineer,
yeah. And he's gone there, too, because he is leading their recreation, right? So he's doing that.
Game time director.
Very true.
Game time director.
Very true.
There's nobody who can play games like Nick.
Nick has really revolutionized game time. I will say, Nick is that was a hidden talent of his that I didn't know he had until I actually saw him in action.
He learned that being at Camp Living Water in Bryson City. I saw him in action last year, I believe it was. Yeah, last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. And I was like, wow, he's really doing good with this.
Yeah.
So he's doing that. Adam Painter, who's also gone, he and his wife are helping out as well. So, and Melissa Jones.
Yep, Melissa's there, yeah. Big staff.
Our whole staff is gone.
Yeah, big staff, we got Katie. We held on to Katie and we held on to Nicole, so that was good. That's why if you notice this episode is not going to sound any different, but it will look a little bit different. We got the super source going. Don't at me. That's what it's going to be. If y'all don't like it, just y'all just going to have to wait a week. It is what it is. We got super source. That's what it is. That's where we look like. I like the super source because we look like little newscasters, just kind of talking boxes, talking to each other. Like we said, don't at me, but Dr. Shah, Nicole, I did want to ask this because somebody wrote in for $1 Million Monday today, and they said that anytime you get $1 million right off the bat, that's good money, easy money. But anytime you see a purple car out in the wild, out in the wilderness, you got to stop your car and do a Chinese fire drill wherever you're at.
Every time we see a purple
car, yeah.
like somebody's purple car, and we do this thing.
Yeah, if you're like driving on you're like driving on the interstate, a purple car passes you. You got to stop, get out, Chinese fire drill.
No, we can get off on the side of the road, correct?
You got to do it immediately, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't you can't be like I'll do it at the next couple exits. Like you got to pull over. Yeah, you don't got to stop in the interstate. You can pull over on the shoulder.
Then you don't even get to spend the $1 million.
Who was it that
killed.
wrote in? Hold on, let me see who wrote it. They didn't specify.
Yeah.
It was Dallas P.
Oh.
It was Dallas P.
Okay.
Price Dallas Howard. I don't know, but it was Dallas P from North Carolina.
That's too
but
funny.
he or she, I guess, did not specify.
Okay.
That's
So
funny.
I'm assuming you can. With Dr. Shaw, would you do it?
Of course.
Yeah, Chinese
course.
fire drill.
Yeah.
For $1 million, of
Yeah, $1
course.
million, of course.
Here's the thing: you don't realize how many purple cars are out there. You would think, oh, it's not that common, but once you start thinking about it, you start seeing them. Because someone posed a similar question to me. It was like every time you see an orange car, you have to blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, I never see orange cars. You start seeing them. I don't know what it is.
Whatever you're looking for, you start seeing them.
You
It's
start
like
seeing
you buy a
them.
new car.
That's right.
And you think, well, not many people have this car. You know, I've got kind of not really one of a kind, but
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're driving around and you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of people that drive in my car.
Does vehicle color matter to you guys at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it does.
So like when you went to get your truck and they showed you trucks, were you like, I like it, but I want it in silver or I want it in black?
No, well, I'm friends with some of the
Sure.
car dealership owners, and they're really, really friendly and good, and they help so many people. So when I went to them, I said, look, I need this.
Right.
I need a nice Nissan truck.
Right.
And so Alan's like, sure.
Uh-huh.
Can I interest you in a Ford? I was like, I know Fords are great. I would like a Nissan.
Yeah.
And then somebody else said, try this Chevy. Chevy's good. I'm like,
It's like
I know.
I feel like something's getting lost in translation. I
Yeah.
hear you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try it for the third time. I would love a
I
Nissan.
have Nissan. And then so okay. So we have a silver one. It's one of our program cars, trucks, and it's fantastic. I wasn't expecting a silver one.
Right.
They're hard to find.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Same with you.
Well, mine's a little bit different. You have to think about the fact that my very first car was a 1973 Beetle Volkswagen with a crank sunroof. It was race car orange.
Nicole.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 16.
Hey, look, Ellie had a red Firebird with T-top.
wow.
So I mean, there's as far as obstinate cars or whatever.
So not that I didn't like my car, but if I could have chosen a different color, I definitely.
Oh, you didn't choose the orange.
No, it was just the way.
Did it at least look good? What was it called?
It did.
Tell me what it was called again.
It was a 1973 Beetle Volkswagen in race car orange.
Oh,
That's funny.
hold on one second.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I'm looking for it too.
I have a picture of it somewhere.
My goodness, Nicole, tell me that was not your car.
It was it was.
Was it as orange?
It was brighter than that. It was a brighter orange.
That's more yellow.
That's
Yeah.
yellow.
But it was that type. Golly.
Yes.
And you drove it around on purpose? Who got it for
the
you?
only car I had.
Who got it for you?
My dad.
Well, let me show
That's
respect.
funny.
I'll show respect. Wow. 19. I'm gonna drop that in the. I'm gonna drop that
Show
in the video.
notes?
In the show notes. Yeah, 1973
I'll have to
Volkswagen
find
Beetle.
the picture. I'm actually sitting in front of my car, and I'll have to send.
Yeah, send it to me before the episode airs, and we'll drop it in there.
Okay.
Well, we're talking about marriage. We're talking about relations. Let's see if I can do this as good as Ryan does. We're talking about God's will for your life. A lot of people struggle to discern God's will for your life because we don't really know what it is.
That's
We
right.
don't know how to find it, how to look for it. And we've talked about it as far as just these three different wills or these three different views on God's will. We talked about it as far as life, decisions, career, but we wanted to talk about it as far as marriages go.
Yeah. So just a quick recap on those three wills is coming from a book that was edited back, I think it's 2008. It's called How Then Should We Choose? Three Views on God's Will and Decision Making. And they identified three wills or three views. The first one is a specific will view. And again, using the GPS analogy, it's like the turn-by-turn view.
Right.
Like God gives you turn-by-turn directions on what career, what school, what spouse or marriage partner, what house, where do you move. I mean, it's turn by turn. God gives you directions. Then there is the wisdom view. Again, using the GPS analogy, we call this the best option view.
Right.
It means there is no perfect will of God for you, but God gives you wisdom in His Word. Just use that wisdom and figure out the best one for you. That's the wisdom view. And then, of course, the last one is the relationship view. Using the GPS analogy, we call this the local guide is with you.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, because this is we talking about marriage, right? Talking about relationships. Nicole, are you a good local guide? Do you good on directions?
I think I am, but women, I'm just speaking generically. We don't do like a lot of street names. We do landmarks. So I will tell you, go until you see, a landmark or whatever, and turn right.
Right.
Because women look for stuff like that.
Generally speaking, there are women who are, just kind of like men.
Yeah.
They have street names and all that. Yeah. But then there are men who, like me, I can also go by sight.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Or there are women who are they're in the passenger seat and they're looking at the GPS and they're like, you're going to turn now, and you just it's like I just missed it.
No, I'm more like in half of a mile you're going to be turning right.
I got you.
Half a mile.
So you would pass the relationship view test as far as these wheels are concerned.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So which one is the right one? And our answer, if you remember in the past couple of shows, is there is no right or wrong one. It just depends on several things. Number one, your personality. Sometimes you need the turn by turn. Sometimes there are people who are more, I don't think I need the turn by turn.
Right.
Just show me the best option, God. And as they study the Word of God, they see this is the best will that God has for me. Based on my gifts and talents, I'm supposed to be this, not that.
Right.
So that's how the wisdom view.
Right.
And then there are times that God just says, put all that away and just look to me. And as you grow in me, you're going to have what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think all three are valid.
It's encouraging because there's lots of people who look at life differently and life kind of happens differently.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's like, well, golly, that really doesn't fit me. I guess I have to change, rather than look at each situation and wisely think like, which one is God talking to me in this situation?
Which one is which?
Yeah.
So when it comes to relationship, life would be so much easier if we would just know who is that person.
Right.
That would be great.
That would be great. I mean, I remember our dating years, and you're out there looking for that person, and you're praying for that person. Sometimes you're like sick of that and say, I don't want to even worry about it. I'm just going to focus on my career,
Right.
or my health, or just be with a bunch of friends and have a good time, or go on a mission trip. I'm just not going to worry about this. And then if that's what God has called you to, a single life, then of course, don't worry about it. But then if it's not, then you come right back to the same place and go, I wish I had somebody.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the dating years were not fun.
Really?
It just was not fun. It really was not. And I guess too, the older you get, you're beginning to think,
Time's running out.
time's running out. I need to beat them. And so then it's not that you get more desperate, but you just get to the point where you're really considering.
You feel like your options are running out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we feel for the young people or young adults who are in that position. I mean, I really sympathize with them. Not that I pity them, because they don't want to be pitied, but I sympathize because sometimes they just don't know.
Yeah.
Where do you find that person? Because, we've often talked about they need to be saved. That's the first and foremost requirement. So that right there narrows the field. It's like, well, I know this guy, he's really nice, or I know this girl, she's beautiful, but he's an atheist.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Or she doesn't care one bit about church, or she has some weird values.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting because I remember, kind of like you were saying, Nicole, when I was in my early 20s, Ellie and I were already kind of moving towards getting married, but a lot of our friends, the girls, felt like that. They were like, my time is running out. I need to get my career, my relationship, my marriage, all that stuff needs to be in place before I'm in my 30s or my options start running out. Whereas a lot of our guy friends didn't feel that pressure at all. And so what ended up happening was there was a lot of girls who were kind of not forced to mature, but they just had to mature quickly, pairing up with guys who were in no pressure to grow up at all, and those relationships just kind of ended up terrible.
Well, that's very, very true.
For a woman, you've also got to throw in there her biological clock.
Yeah.
So
If she wants to have children.
If she wants to have children. So, as you feel like in your early 20s, I got plenty of time. You hit your 30s and you're like,
I'm okay right now. I'm okay right now. I still got 5, 6 years.
Wait a minute. I got to hurry up.
I wonder because you add in the Christian element with that too. I wonder how many girls have gone through that frustration, or young women, I should say, go through that frustration and feel like, is this really God's will for me to be dating all these immature guys, all these losers? Can I say losers on the radio? I guess I'll say it.
I guess.
I wonder how many Christian young women have been like, I want to follow God's will, but it can't be that He wants me to get with all of these guys before I find the right one.
They feel like, and sometimes I look at the guys out there, and I do feel sorry for them, because I feel like sometimes it's you got very slim pickings.
And vice versa. Mm-hmm. There are guys out there who are great guys, good, nice gentlemen, and then the women are not ready, or they are distracted, or they are here, there, everything, or they have expectations, and the guy's like, I guess I don't meet all that.
Yeah, true.
I guess I'm not the one who's making her happy, but I will be loyal to her, and I am fun, and I do this and I do that, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I mean, it's both ways. I think it's tough for guys, tough for girls.
Yeah, it is. What do you think is that? How do you bring in God's will to this? Because I think anybody who's listening to this who is on the younger side and is looking for that special someone, that woman or that man. How do we know when we've met that one? Like you say, it would be a lot easier if God would just put a big halo around their head and a big flashing
This is
sign. That's the one.
Yes, it would.
Go get him.
Or like an Adam and Eve situation where there are no other options. This is it.
Well, I guess it's you like looking over the bushes and stuff.
Yeah,
well, one of the first things that I think of, because Abaddon always talks about this, that he fell in love with my family before he fell in love with me.
Really?
Is that what is their family like?
Mm-hmm.
Does that means like, do you have this? Does their family have the same values that maybe your family has? And it doesn't have to be exactly, but is it really close?
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
That's true. That's true.
That's true. Of course, we talk about salvation, but also family values. Those are the top things that I tell people. If those things line up, there's a very good chance other things will work out.
And I know it's kind of an age-old joke, but I think there's some truth to it too. You can really see it even in the reaction. Because I remember when Ellie and I were dating, I was still immature. I was 19, 20, and she was like, I want you to meet my dad. That's really important. And I was like, well, this was fun. Maybe we go on ahead and call it. Look, it was nice, and I'll see you soon. But I remember being like, oh gosh, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's
Ask
one of
him
those
about that story.
Yeah, well, you told that story before. You can tell if you want.
No, I mean, I was scared to meet her dad.
Yeah.
Not that I was doing anything wrong, but I was like, he won't like me, or he'll be judgmental, or whatever. But in the end, it turned out he was very kind and gentle and Christ-like, and it was a life-changing moment.
Yeah, I love that story.
Dad. I would say, there are people out there listening, and I know there are people who are maybe young adult who's listening to this show and thinking, yeah, I'm the one. What do I need to do? Or there may be parents out there who are listening to this show, or grandparents who are concerned about some young person in their life. Or when I say young, I'm not saying they have to be 21.
Right.
Young could be 37. Young could be 42, 44. I mean, it just depends on your perspective. I would back up a little bit and spend the rest of the time just discussing or talking about, what is it that makes relationships special? Okay? How should we choose a relationship that would be according to God's will? To start out, understand why you're choosing a relationship. You're choosing a relationship not just to hang out or go date or have someone to go places with. You're choosing it ultimately for marriage.
Right. That's true.
Because if it's not, and if you're just hanging out, you're wasting someone's time.
Yeah,
wasting your own time.
Yeah,
Wasting
and
your time.
Our world has lost sight of that, and it was very common at one point for it to be like, well, that's not the Christian view. But now even Christians are falling into that view where it's like, we'll get it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's just have fun and hang out.
Why ruin this?
Yeah.
But do understand that the end goal is marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it says in Genesis 1:27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
That's right.
So marriage reflects God's image.
And that should be, apart from relationships, that should be what you're striving for anyway.
Right. Ultimately, what you're doing here in this dating period is hoping to one day be married and reflect God's image.
That's true. That's very true. It's kind of funny because we we trick ourselves into thinking that that's going to just happen. I don't have to move towards it. It's going to come to me.
Yeah.
And then we get older and older, and in our 20s and our late 20s and our 30s, and we're like, why isn't this happening?
Yeah. Start thinking that way.
Yeah.
Correct?
Oh, yeah.
Genesis 1:27 says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
Right. It's about reflecting God's image.
Right.
Because let's take the relationship part out of it.
Right.
You should be doing that anyway. You should be moving towards that end goal of reflecting God's image.
Right. So when we talk about this male and female reflecting God's image, don't misunderstand. It does not mean that God is a little bit of a man and a little bit of a woman.
Right.
That's not true.
Right.
God is spirit, but he has chosen to relate with us in the masculine. Okay? And you heard me talk about this, you heard us talk about it, because the man is supposed to lead in a relationship. He's supposed to be the initiator in the relationship. So God has chosen to relate with us in the masculine. So how do male and female reflect God's image? Think about it for a moment. God created the man and the woman to be same in essence, but distinct in persons.
It's crazy because in any other time period, this would be completely normal and understood. But in 2024,
Nope.
not the case.
Because we're dealing with the whole idea of, well, there's been so much litigation and everything over same-sex marriages. And it's one of those things that it's okay now. It's supposed to be normal that a woman can marry a woman, a man can marry a man. But how can that reflect God's image?
Right. It cannot. It's an affront. And when we talk about God's image, who is God? God is Trinity.
That's right.
Father, Son, Spirit. Three who have the same essence, and yet they are different persons.
Right.
Marriage, it's not three. Well, in a sense, it is three. You have God in the marriage as well. But really, we're talking about male and female, same essence, different persons.
Right. But the reason, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong or wording it incorrectly, but the reason that homosexuality is such an affront to God is because there's not three fathers. There's not three sons. There's not three Holy Spirits. They're different. And so when he created Eve, he did it to create something different.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful. He is the main image. We are the copy.
Right.
So if we're going to distort the copy, what we're saying is that the image is wrong, and the image can never be wrong.
That's right. That's right.
Secondly, marriage is God's gift for companionship. So if you're heading into a dating relationship, or if you're looking for someone to date, think about it also, not only is God's image reflected, but are you looking for a companion?
What I've told my kids too is like what you know of that person as you begin to date, and you start dating because you like to be around the person.
Right.
I mean, I don't believe in love at first sight. I believe that you gradually fall.
How do you explain West Side Story?
It's not love.
Maria.
But so as you get to know this person, I remember my dad asking me after our first or second date, he was like, well, what you know of him, can you see yourself married to this man? Well, that wasn't even on my radar. But if you're looking for a spouse and you go out with a person, even if you've only gone out with him for one time and you've spent a couple of hours, what you know of that person, do you think, or can you see yourself married to that person?
True.
That should be that should be in the back of your mind as you get to know this person. The more I get to know this person,
can they make a good companion?
Yeah, can I see myself married to this person?
One of the ways that Ellie has helped me, and I think working at Clearview has helped me too, is that it's helped me realize that people and companionship is good for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that, well, like naturally, I want to be by myself. I want to isolate. That's what makes me happy, but it's not good for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is a big difference. That's what satisfies me on the exterior, but to isolate and to be by yourself and to be apart from everybody else is not good for me. And I like what God says here where he's like, this is good.
It is not good for man to be alone.
Of course.
Of course, also it is not good for a woman to be alone as well. Then also marriage fulfills a great mystery. And Paul expounds on this in Ephesians chapter 5:23. He says, "For the husband is head of the wife, as also Christ is head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her." Verse 31, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church." So marriage fulfills a great mystery. And the mystery is the relationship between Christ and the church. So I'm assuming that most of our listeners are coming from a Christian background. Whether you are that person looking for a relationship or you're a parent who is guiding and just you're kind of frustrated, not knowing how you can encourage your young person if they are disappointed or they are feeling anxiety over time running out, or you're that grandparent and you're trying to be the matchmaker for your granddaughter or grandson or some nephew or niece. You're trying to help them find somebody. Just understand what we're doing over here. We're helping you see marriage reflects God's image. Marriage is God's gift of companionship, as Nicole just mentioned. This is when you date, this is a good time to figure out, is this the person that I can see myself with? But then for a Christian, it goes much further. And the further is, it reflects a mystery. And the mystery is the relationship with Christ, between Christ and the church.
That's a great point.
That's where dating relationships should be headed. That's what they should see on the horizon. Now, I'll be honest, when Nicole and I started dating, I didn't see all those things up front. I doubt you saw.
No, not at all.
Like, I'm looking for how does this reflect God's image? Okay, I think it happened. Okay,
It's like,
how?
And I really like her, but how does this contribute to the mystery of Christ?
Yeah.
Like, no.
I doubt that.
Not at all.
Yeah, let's be realistic. We're not. But I'm hoping this conversation is helping somebody who may be struggling, who may be struggling with broken relationships, or their heart's been broken, or they just can't seem to find that person, or where they are located in the church context or work context. It's like, there's nobody. There's nobody.
Yeah.
I'm hoping today's little discussion is helping them kind of see that there are some open doors.
Absolutely.
And a change of perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, and we'll be talking about this tomorrow too, because God is not the only one with a design for marriage. The enemy has a design for your marriage as well. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Nicole, thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow on tomorrow's episode. If you guys like this episode, you want to hear more, or if you want to contribute some topics for us to talk about, make sure you send us a text, 252-582-5028. You can always visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, and you can always donate financially to that. You can support us in that way. We really appreciate you guys giving and supporting the show. We wouldn't be able to do it without your generosity and without God working and moving through you. So thank you for supporting us in that way. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.